to Integrity Matters. First of all, I'd like to give a special thanks to the Lord my God for everything, and also to my family, to my wife and children for their support. You know, integrity really does matter. Integrity is simply doing the right thing all the time, even when nobody is looking, and not necessarily expecting a reward. At least that's my interpretation of integrity. If after hearing me today, you come to realize that you've been doing it all wrong for a while, it could be that you've been ignoring that little voice inside called your conscience to the point that you just don't hear it anymore. So I'm going to invite you to press the reset button, and you can start doing it right. While we are alive, we always have the opportunity to change. I want to talk to you about a very important part of integrity, and also something that is extremely important to God. It is simply keeping your promises. To help me make my point, I want to read from Psalm 15. Lord, who may dwell in your sacred tent? Who may live on your holy mountain? The one whose walk is blameless, who does what is righteous, who speaks the truth from their heart, whose tongue utters no slander, who does no wrong to a neighbor and casts no slur on others, who despises a vile person but honors those who fear the Lord, who keeps an oath even when it hurts, and does not change their mind, who lends money to the poor without interest, who does not accept a bribe against the innocent. Whoever does these things will never be shaken. Focusing especially on the second part of verse number 4, it says, who keeps an oath or promise even when it hurts, and does not change their mind. Believers in the Lord Jesus Christ especially should follow this, because we're supposed to be different than the rest of the world. We're supposed to be those that help to bring the lost world back to its rightful mind. We're supposed to be those that can be pointed at by others and they say, wow, what's different about that person? I'm used to everybody breaking their promise, but this one always keeps their word. Oh, I respect that person. And then they be willing to hear what you have to say. To help emphasize my point and what I'm trying to teach here, I want to talk about something that I call the hunting lodge. I met this woman years ago and she told me this story. Her father owned this hunting lodge that she now owned, that was passed on to her when he died. Now, the hunting lodge was a place that men that hunted could go there and socialize. They can go there and sit in a restaurant and have a meal prepared for them that they went out hunting, they killed the animal, and now they could actually eat what they hunted. Attached to this land, which was not owned by her father, was a big piece of land that was used for hunting. The hunters went out and they killed the animals that they went after. Now, her father and the other man that owned that big piece of land, they were the type of people that they made a promise and they kept their word. They didn't have contracts. They met up, they made a promise, an agreement, they shook hands, and that was it. That's the way they used to do it. Now, that man that owned the big piece of land, he also died, and his son inherited. She tried to continue on with that she had learned from her father, and she called the son and said, let me ask you a question. Do you plan to do anything with this land for the next 10 years? And he said, no, you can do it with it as you want. I'm not doing anything with it for the next 10 years. So she made an investment. They shook hands, and she thought, well, that was it. Now I have a lease agreement, not put in writing, but spoken, for 10 years. But he wasn't the same as his father. He didn't honor his word. Within a short period of time, she received a letter from the man telling her, you have 6 months to get everything that you own off of the land because I'm going to sell it. She called up the man and she tried to reason with him, but he would hear nothing of it. He just broke his promise, and that was it. He was approached by developers that wanted to build houses, and they made him an attractive offer, and the money spoke more than the promise. Now, many times, making a promise and keep it is the harder way. It will cost you. It will be inconvenient, but it is the right thing to do. Even when it hurts, God is watching everything that we do. And we should be integral people, that we do what we say that we are going to do. People used to understand the importance of keeping their word, their promise. These days we live in a world in which if a person is going to make your promise, you have to get them to put it in writing. You have to get witnesses. You have to get it notarized. And even after that, they'll probably break it many times and you have to bring them to court. We, the believers, are the ones that are responsible for making the example, for teaching our children how to do it the right way, and for changing the world in what we can, even a little at a time. You know, promises go both ways. You make promises to others, but you also receive promises. What do you think will happen if you are the kind of person that's always breaking your promises to your children, for example? What do you think that they will learn? And the next generation and the next generation, and it keeps on going. At some point, we can just say, stop, and we're going to change this and start planting something new to receive something new. To make my point, I want to use Galatians 6:7. It says, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Don't expect to get bananas if you plant tomatoes. If you plant tomatoes, you're going to get tomatoes. If you go around breaking your promises to others, don't expect to receive something different. And we all know how frustrating it is. When you need something done, you call a person on the phone that is the person that can get it done, and they tell you, I'll call you back in 5 minutes. And you say, will you really call me back in 5 minutes? You sure? Yeah, I'll call you back in 5 minutes. The next day, you're trying to chase them down. You're leaving messages. They're avoiding you. They don't call you back. They never called you back, and it keeps on going, and you don't get it done. It's not easy. It doesn't feel good when you're on the receiving end. But when you're making the promises, you got to think of how it feels for the other person. And this is where Matthew 7:12 comes in, that says, so in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. Meaning all the word of God is summed up in how you treat others. Doing what is right to others as you would like it done to you. You complain and say, well, why is this happening to me? When it's happening to you, it's not fun at all. It's not fun at all. You don't know the situation of the other person. That you've made them a promise, and you don't know if that promise that you made, they're so depending on it. It could be that they need, with that money, to buy food, to eat and live. You just don't know the situation. You don't know the frustration that you're causing. But you do think you're very aware of it when it's happening to you, and it's not fun at all. We can change this from going around and around and around in circles. We can change it. And I'm encouraging everybody today to start changing it. If you're that kind of person that always has good intentions, remember, good intentions only go so far, but if they're not met with actions, then they're worthless. Imagine if God said, oh, these people are all going to hell. I want to save them. My heart is hurting for them. But he does nothing. Nothing at all. Where would we all be? Did you think about that one? No. He loved, and therefore he gave. He took action. And that's what we must all do, even when it hurts, even when it's inconvenient. We got to think about the other person. Put others as more important than yourself. It does go around. If you're that kind of person that you're forgetful, most of us, the majority of us, we have smartphones these days, which has a little memo app. We can open up our phone when we make the promise, and we could put it down. It even has an alert. You could set a timer and everything to an alarm go off and alert you. There's really no excuse. We can change. We can make a difference. We can change the way we reap as well. It's just the right thing to do. So let's do it. Live our life in integrity to honor God, to do what's right to other human beings, and also do what's right for ourselves so we don't get in return what we are doing to others. I invite you to change. And I made a decision. I don't want to close any program that I do without first giving an invitation. For anybody that's out there, at the sound of my voice, that you have been not sure about this Jesus Christ. You have been hearing people tell you about him, and you have come to a point that you have said, my life's not working the way it is. So if my life's not working the way it is, then I must be doing something wrong. If you keep on doing the same thing and expecting different results, well, that's just not the way it's done. I want to invite you to say, Jesus Christ, to repeat after me, Jesus Christ, I believe that you are the Son of God. I believe that you came to save me, to help me. I invite you to come into my life, to forgive all of my sins. And if you are not sure if he is Jesus Christ, I want to challenge you. If Jesus Christ is the Son of God, if he is real, I want to challenge you to say, show me sincerely from your heart. If you want him to show you, I believe that he will. I have had experiences with people that I have spoken to them about Jesus, and then they, alone in their home, they have called out to him, and they weren't completely sure, but he made himself known to them. I want to challenge you to do that, but not in a mocking way, not with unbelief, really with a sincere heart. And I believe that if you do, if you open up to him, he'll open up to you, and he will turn your life around. Thank you for